All right, it's showtime. Let's go. My name is Lashawnda Smith, and I am the host for the First Year Business Podcast. I created this podcast so it can be used as a tool to help guide you through your first year in business. I will talk about the struggles, the tips, the do's, the don'ts, the highs, and the lows. You name it. So, grab a glass of wine, get relaxed, maybe get a pen and paper so you can take notes, and I hope you enjoy today's show. Welcome, everybody. I'm not gonna lie, this is my second time recording this, but this is my very first episode for the First Year Business Podcast. So I want to first introduce myself again. My name is Lashawnda Smith, and I am your host for the First Year Business Podcast. And I must say, I am very excited, and I realize as well that I must be really nervous because, like I said, this is my second round. But I digress. I wanted to create this podcast for my new business owners out there, and let me tell you why. I'm going to tell you exactly why I want to cater this podcast to new business owners. There are so many coaches out here, so many podcasts out here that are catering to, I want to say, more established business owners, people that are kind of like, they're kind of been in the game for a little bit. Now they're trying to learn how to make six figures, or they're trying to get help with social media, or, whatever the case may be, sales funnels, automation, that's great. But I found kind of like a hole in the market for podcasting. What about the newbies? What about the new business owners that's in their first year of business? Like they just launched, they're super excited. There are so many milestones, so many ups and downs in the first year of business. I've had multiple businesses, and I have had multiple ups and downs in every single business that I've had. And I wished back then that there was something that was catered specifically for where I was. And I feel like some of the coaches or, people that I would follow on social media, they were trying to help you when you're further along down the line than where I was. And so I know that there's tons of things and tons of experiences that I've personally had, tons of experiences that my clients have had that I would like to share here to kind of help prepare you for the journey. Because there is a journey behind starting a business, okay? Especially if it's your very first one. After you do it the first time, if you decide to start a different one, you kind of get more familiar with the ropes, but it's a roller coaster. And so I created this podcast just for you. In this episode specifically, this is more so like a welcome episode. I'm going to tell you the different topics that I want to cover on this podcast. I want to tell you the schedule, where you can find the podcast, and things like that. So let's hop over into the top topics. And if you're wondering why I'm looking right here, it's because I have a computer screen right here, and it has all of my notes for the podcast. And speaking of that, I have a YouTube channel for this podcast. This is a great plug. So not only do I have an audio podcast where you can find me on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, hopefully Spotify. I haven't officially posted this yet, but the goal is to have this podcast everywhere. Okay, so you should be able to find it on any of the platforms that are available for podcasting. But I also have a video podcast, which I'm looking at now. So anybody on my YouTube channel, hey guys, they can actually see me recording this podcast. I know for me, I personally watch podcasts on YouTube. So I definitely knew that I needed to create a podcast where I can have video, because that's how I watch podcasts. So, and I also feel like it's a great way to diversify the content, because podcasting is really, there's a kind of a little struggle with promoting podcasts, the audio version, but you can do a lot more with video. So that's why I have video. But again, it is on YouTube. All you have to do is look up the First Year Business Podcast and it will pop up. But the goal is for me to post on Mondays, every single Monday at 9 a.m. The reason why I'm posting at 9 a.m. is because I want this podcast to be something for the business owners who may still work a 9 to 5. And if you just started your business, I can guarantee you 95% chance you still work a 9 to 5. And because of that, I want to make sure that you are able to listen to this podcast on your way to work, while you're getting dressed, anything like that. Or even if you don't get to watch it in the morning, it'll already be up and ready to go for your lunch break or after you get off work. And Mondays is kind of like that refresher day. Like, that's the beginning of, let me get all my stuff. It's the beginning of the work weeks, things like that. So that's why I picked Monday. Again, I'm going to just name a couple of platforms that this podcast is going to be on, and then I'm going to cover the topics. So this podcast is going to be available on YouTube. It's going to be available on TikTok. Yes, on TikTok. It's also going to be available on Instagram. Now, we also have a Facebook page, but I'm going to be quite frank with you. My Facebook page is going to probably be more dedicated towards running ads. I'm not going to lie, because I really want this podcast to get exposed. And so Facebook, their organic reach sucks. And we're going to get into that on a later episode of the podcast, but it sucks. So the only reason why it's going to be on Facebook is literally so that I can promote it as an ad. Just, disclaimer. But as far as active platforms, definitely YouTube, definitely TikTok, and definitely Instagram. If you are interested in finding this podcast on those platforms, on TikTok is going to be under the First Year Business Coach. And under Instagram is also going to be under the First Year Business Coach. So, in case you didn't know, I just started my new coaching business, the First Year Coach. Oh man, you know what? I just realized I said the wrong name. Okay, so I'm going to have to get it together. This is all new, so please just work with me, because I'm not even going to edit that out. We're just going to run with it. So if you want to find my podcast, all of the links are going to be available. If you're on YouTube, it's going to be available in the description box, okay? And if you're on the audio format, if you want to find my YouTube channel or anything like that, all of my links are going to be under my descriptions and in my show notes, okay? So that way, if I get it wrong on here, on this beginning episode, at least you have the link that's going to give you directly to it. But anyways, let's hop on these topics that we're going to be covering on this podcast. So we have a total of 6 topics that we will be covering on here to help you business owners out here. So the first topic is going to be actually starting your business. So I'm going to cover topics on things that will help you get started, like how to prepare for your launch, what you need to have in order, like all those other things. I'm going to help you if you haven't officially started your business, but you have a business idea and you need to know how to execute it. So that's the first topic. The second topic is launching. So a lot of people struggle with launching. They think that if they just create their Instagram page and post a photo, that's a launch, and it's not. So we're going to go over launching, how to prepare for a launch. So this way, when you actually launch, your brand is going to be professional. It's going to look good. You're going to have everything that you need so that you can make your first sale day one. If someone wants to buy from you, we're going to really hone in on launching for new business owners. We're also going to talk about how you can save these coins, okay? Because running a business is expensive. It can get expensive really, really fast. And you will have so many subscriptions to run your business, like Photoshop, Canva, for your emails, ConvertKit, like all these different subscriptions that you're going to have or that you will want to have. And we need to know how to run this business this first year on a budget, because probably the first couple of months, you ain't going to be making no money. So you're going to need to know, how can I save money where I can save money at? So we're definitely going to be covering topics on how you can save money in your business. We're also going to talk about how to promote and market your business. This is a big one because a lot of people struggle with it. I'm not going to lie. I struggle with it sometimes. Like, marketing and promotion can be a real beast, but we're going to cover it on the podcast. Another topic that we're going to go over is the first year stories. I'm very excited about this one because this one is where I'm going to cover my first year business stories. I'm going to have business owners come on to the podcast and talk about their first year business stories. And this is really just a great way for me to allow you guys to hear from real business owners with different types of businesses, what they struggled with, how they overcame their struggles, their success stories, like just straight motivation. Because your first year can really be discouraging if it doesn't go the way that you thought it was going to go. And so that's why I am going to include the first year stories on here. And I will go over how you can, be a part of that in just a second. And the last topic that I'm going to cover is branding and social media. Branding and social media go hand in hand. You need a brand on your social media, and you definitely need social media. So there are going to be some really, really in-depth information when it comes to how you can stand out from the crowd, how you can consistently post on social media, because I'm going to tell you right now, depending on how you handle social media, it could be a full-time job. Like, just being frank with you, it could be a full-time job, and we don't want it to be a full-time job at the beginning stages. So I'm going to talk about how you can handle social media to make sure that you're showing up for your audience and make sure that you have a consistent brand as well. So now that we've gone over the topics, I want to go ahead and hop into our sponsor. So today's today's episode is not sponsored, okay? But if it was sponsored, this is where it would go. But if you offer services, products, or programs for business owners and are interested in sponsoring a future podcast episode, stay tuned into the podcast for future updates on how you can become a sponsor. Also, while we're on the topic of future opportunities, are you a business owner who would like to be a guest on the future podcast or on the future podcast episodes? I will be offering guest speaking opportunities as well. So if you're interested in becoming a speaker on the podcast, or if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for the podcast, all you have to do is email me at info@lashawnda.smith.com to be added to my speakers list. That's info@LASHAWNDA Smith.com, and I will add you to my speakers list. All right, so this is pretty much it. This is short, sweet, cute. I think I got my point across. I hope you guys are excited, just like I'm excited. I would love for you to share this on your platform. If you see this on Facebook or YouTube or however you find this, let people know about this podcast, especially if they're a new business owner, because the next episode that I'm going to be talking about is actually going to be the 5 things that I learned when I first started my business. So stay tuned for that. It actually should be posted on my platform the same day that this one goes out, because the goal is for me to post 3 podcast episodes, so that way you can kind of start binging early on in the game and kind of get a feel for what this podcast is going to be about. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. I encourage you to listen to my next episode so that you can get some nuggets out of that, and probably get some gems that you can write down and take with you. But until then, thank you guys for listening to this episode. I will see you next time.